Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight at Moon Serpent Bone Full Moon Virtual Market. My name is Meghan McSweeney. My business name is Doctr Witch. You can find me on Instagram at Doctr Witch, DOCTR.witch. And my email is drwitch1111. And I also have a side project called Crossroads Community, where I am offering a space for all practitioners of all different levels, specialties, traditions, backgrounds, to come together to grow, evolve, and just learn, and share. And I was very excited to be asked to be a presenter for tonight. And I was just like, ooh, what should I present on, right? There's so many great magical and occult subjects out there that I was like trying to narrow it down. And I was like, well, what is one thing that I do every day, and one thing that I think that anyone and everyone could benefit from? And that's what brought me to presenting on shadow work. So I know that it is a trending topic right now, and there's a lot of different definitions that go along with it, a lot of different vernacular that kind of encapsulates it. So I just wanted to take a moment to really kind of define how I see shadow work, so we understand that we're all both on the same level. So shadow work to me is learning, dancing, and integrating those pieces that we have rejected about ourselves or that we keep hidden. And so this could be a multitude of things, right? I do find that with me, the biggest thing that I hid was my sensitivity. And I think it's kind of funny because the way that I hid it was through anger. So I just wanted to kind of really give you a real life example on how to deal with a shadow, okay? So around 25, I kind of woke up and I was like, you know what? I've had enough. And I've actually done that probably 2 more times since then, where I just wake up one day and I'm like, you know what? I've had enough of my own stuff. I'm done dealing with these feelings of agitation and resentment and anger and fear. And that's pretty much what shadow work helps you with. You look at these things, you look at your own self and try to understand, why are you making yourself suffer? I find that a lot of people think that the answer to this is killing the ego, right? Or destroying the ego or completely separating from it. And I find in my practice and the results that I have gone that is not the case. We have to give the ego another job. We have to learn to dance with it. We need to learn to live in that duality, to understand that these shadows do have a voice and they need to be heard, because if they're not, they're going to show up in our lives in a totally inappropriate way. So, how do you start your own shadow work? Well, like I said, I woke up one day and I was like, I'm tired of myself. Like I can't take this anymore. Because I was extremely tired. I was always frustrated. I was always angry. I had no joy. I was living in a relationship that I was so incredibly unhappy with. My living situation was not great. My job was terrible. And it was all the things that I had surrounded with myself that helped me ignore my sensitivity, right? And you'll find that as you do shadow work, you will find that your choices will support you ignoring or rejecting those things that you should be embracing about yourself. So let's take the example about being sensitive. For my entire life, I've been sensitive. And I know that a lot of people out there that are viewing this can probably relate. After you try to express yourself and you try to have conversations, you kind of get tired of not being seen or heard. So you start to try to, at a young age, you kind of try to mold in so you can feel normal, right? And I found that was one of my shadows, is I wanted to be normal so much to be seen and to be heard because of my abandonment shadow, that I literally was ignoring my own needs and wants. So how did I break through with this? So this process is a long process, okay? So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And if anybody tells you that, then I'm sorry, they are misinformed, because this is a process. We've taken X amount of years to learn certain patterns. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to unlearn those patterns. But don't get discouraged. You know, this is the whole point of being human, is learning to have this dance and to have that flow. And one of the reasons why I walked into shadow work is this beautiful goddess right here, Hecate. She is the torch in the darkness, the dagger that cuts what no longer serves, the hound that eats my fears, the snake that shows me how to transform, and the key that unlocks. And it was the key part that I leaned on for a very long time. And it was the torch part that I leaned on for a very, very long time. Because with everything that I had taken on to shield this sensitivity, I had split into so many different patterns that my shadows were out of control. So around 25, like I said, I woke up one day and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I started by going to a healer. I was really deep in my nerdiness about psychology. And I found that, you know, everyone we walk into is a mirror or a teacher, right? Either they're mirroring us to show us what we're reflecting back, whether good or bad, or they're teaching us something, teaching us how to be or how not to be.
I've been waiting for you. Welcome to Dark Club. Come on in. So, if you know anything about Light Club at all, now you're about to discover the rest of Light Club, because it has grown beyond anything that we could possibly imagine. So I am your hostess, Melissa Paone, also known as the Chakra Witch, and what I'm going to be doing is taking you through a tour of all three components of our shop: the body, the mind, and the spirit. So we're going to start with the body, also known as Dark Club. So follow me in. And as you can see, we're going to take you on an even closer tour, but just as you peruse around, Dark Club is really focused on needs of the body, more of the physical parts of the metaphysical. And what we do is we specialize in apparel, specialize in accessories, pipes, books, anything that you need that will make you feel the metaphysical more physically in your being. So, we're going to start over here with some of our accessories, and we are very lucky to have mostly, actually just about everything on this table is handmade, and some of it has even been imported from New Orleans, handmade by the designer. So as you peruse over through there, and each piece is a limited edition. Back through here, again relating to the physical, we're going in with our backflow burners and more accessories. And also, as you move down, you'll notice some beetles, butterflies, and other types of bugs. Now following this way is our selection of metaphysical books. So this is just a sampling of what we have. Books are not necessarily always available on the website, but we do have always a rotating assortment of books that you can check out if you're able to visit us in person. But if you do see anything you like online, feel free to shoot us an email. There's always something we can do. Both used and new. And now over to the men's accessories section with the canes and the leather hats. Finally, if you'd like to get crazy, you can come in and check out the vintage clothing that we have in the hidden room. So basically with Dark Club, the whole idea is that there's a lot of specialized items and limited editions. So we may not necessarily have them up on our website, but if you do see something that interests you, feel free to message us, send us an email, whatever have you, and if we have it, we can definitely get it to you. We do ship. So please feel free to contact us with anything you may have seen in Dark Club.
Come, let Zoltar tell you more.
So, welcome to Light Club's Imaginarium Psychic Parlor. This is the mind version of Light Club when we had just visited the body, which was Dark Club. So for the Psychic Parlor, this is where you can get all things to expand your mind, such as psychic readings, private parties. You can actually rent the entire building and book a private psychic party of your own, or you can enjoy the art gallery in the other room. So that's why we call it the Imaginarium, because it's really there to kind of expand your imagination and allow you to see that all things are possible.
Die today. That's right. You must live your days as if they were your last, because one day they will be. You know what I mean. So go on, have fun, and surrender more cash for more wisdom from the great Zoltar. Your fortune is mine for the telling, and yours for the hearing. Come, let Zoltar tell you more.
Well, it says I'm going to be a bright light in the future, so I guess it's time for us to go in and visit Light Club. So now we're in the OG of all three shops, the Light Club, which is the spirit of the three. This was the first one, and this is one that all of the other shops came out of. And we're so grateful for your support in making Light Club bigger than just one building now. But as you can see, when you look around the shop, this is really primarily focused on your spirituality and all of the supplies, tools that you would need to access all of the things that you need for fulfillment. So as you look around, you're going to see mostly handmade items. And the things that aren't are all locally sourced. This is our sage bar. You can order assortments. You can even have us pick out custom combinations for you. Divination cabinet. Incense. And both loose herbs and teas. Now, most of these shelves you're going to be finding are going to be primarily handmade. And these are all found on the website, available for purchase, shipping included. Very proud to present this last room to you. It is very private by appointment only. This is where I do my sessions in what we call the Violet Flame Chapel. We don't open it to the public because it's very important to keep it in just the right energetic balance. We will have it cleansed constantly, and the room is so energetically charged that we want to make sure that it's in perfect balance at the point of your session. So you're going to get a sneak peek of this room, but it's in general not open to the public except by appointment. So this concludes our Light Club tour. Thank you so much for visiting us, and know that we are always available to you 24/7 on mylightclub.com, and we're also open Wednesdays through Sundays in Sugarloaf at 1379 Kings Highway, 1381 Kings Highway, and on weekends only at the Imaginarium in Romer's Alley. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon, and as always, blessed be.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Nightfall. I am a death witch. I'm also a psychic medium and channel, and a paranormal investigator. Tonight I want to talk with you about something a little bit controversial amongst my fellow practitioners and psychic mediums, and what's even more controversial towards those who are none of those things, none of the above, who probably won't even be watching this broadcast. But it all has to do with two words: Ouija board. Some of you already have some really crazy reactions to that off the bat from your own personal experiences, or from things you've heard, or from what you've seen in movies. Well, as somebody who's been working with Ouija boards for well over 20 years, I put my hands on a Ouija board when I was 8 years old, and for me, there was no going back. More these days, I use what's known as a spirit box. It's a radio sweeping device that you use to contact the dead, where you can hear their actual voices. So it's like a modern day Ouija board, but I want to talk about the actual spirit board itself, the talking board, tonight. So a lot of us know the one that's you buy in the stores that glow in the dark, that are the classic colors, like the one that's behind me, that we know from, I think it's Parker Brothers who sells them. And even some of you might know it from spiritualists using talking boards in the 1800s. Well, let's just say spirit boards go way, way back, way before that, for thousands of years. In the Dark Ages, they would use a spirit board to communicate with their ancestors. They wanted strategies. They wanted to know how to stay further alive by contacting the dead that they cared about and that they hoped still cared about them. And even if we go over to China, and China we can also credit for the invention of the pendulum that a lot of people use for divination as well. They used a talking board in China, and they also used it to talk to the dead. Although it's had different names across many different cultures, and even here in the US, where it was mass marketed as even like a dating game of sorts, a lot of their old ads were encouraging couples to use Ouija boards on their dates, and for families to use. And it wasn't a thing to be feared. Like any tool, a Ouija board or a spirit board, it's dangerous if it's used improperly. It should be cleansed regularly with Florida water, holy water, sage water, whatever water you like to use spiritually for your practice. Or if you're not a practitioner, you should use it just to cleanse your space in general, and you should use it to cleanse your Ouija board, just wiping off the surface. I know there are many people, and practitioners alike, who have a fear of the board, or who have a visceral reaction to it. And I understand this fear, and there is some validity to it. If you think about the collective consciousness and how we can create egregores or entities within itself from things we worship or things we fear, how it creates things. Think of Slender Man as one, and with the Ouija board we have Zozo. That is an egregore created through the collective consciousness. Some say it may be a variant of something else that exists in another practice, but I don't want to get too much into that. That's a whole nother segment here. But it is extremely rare to come across a demon. What you really want to, if you have any fear at all with this, is contacting something that is an angry spirit or some sort of spirit that's dealing with depression, because those are harder to get rid of. And obviously they can be dangerous. But if you have proper wards up, proper protections, and you go into it without this fear, there's nothing that should get in your way of using a Ouija board if you use it properly. So if you are fearful of using a spirit board, you shouldn't go into anything at all. Whether it's a certain type of spell or other type of divination or anything, because as we know as practitioners, what you put out is what you attract. So if you're using a spirit board with the movie The Exorcist in your head, or what somebody told you once when you were 12 years old, or some weird experience you had with somebody else using a Ouija board when you were in high school, it's not the best idea to use a Ouija board when you have this fear in you. But I also strongly advise, when you're using a spirit board, not to contact any sort of demon, any angel, a deity, Loa, whatever you practice or believe in, God, Jesus Christ. Please do not contact them through the spirit board. One, I personally believe it is disrespectful, and two, if you want to think of it logically, you are not just going beyond the veil of just contacting the dead that are closest to us. You are going beyond doors that you might not be able to close. And even if it's a being of light, however you want to look at it, you are opening a door that you cannot simply close just by saying goodbye. You are calling on something that is far greater than yourself, far more powerful, and you may not have the proper protections to do that. So that is one of my biggest advice with using a Ouija board. You should have the board separate as its own thing that you can put away and cleanse. I myself personally am very much against people, because I've seen this in memes and stuff too, and in pictures of people painting it into their walls or their floors. Because if you think of it this way, you're painting it into like the circulatory system of your home. That's not necessarily a spiritual door you can close just by saying goodbye. We're walking on floors, we're touching walls, it's actively a part of the emotions we're projecting as people. So that's a lot of imprinting of energy that I think can activate a board even when you think it's dormant. And I highly suggest, if you make one, to use it separately from what's as its own board. You can draw protective sigils on the back of your board. If you bought a store-bought one, I understand not everybody is rich and crafty and can make their own board. So you just want to draw something of protection on the back, whether it's the seal of the archangels, or if you want to even write a prayer on the back, that's fine too. If you're creating your own, which I highly recommend, because as we know, if you're a practitioner, the more love and intention and work of your own with your own hands that you put into something, the more powerful it is, the more it's yours, the more it's your own, the more your spirits are going to be called to it, or whatever spirits you are drawn to are going to be imprinted onto that board. So I like to use, even starting from the wood itself or the base itself, and here's a list of things you can use as the base for a Ouija board that helps for protection or for higher vibrations, depending on what you're drawn to or trying to bring in. I also like to use wood personally, because I can carve out little pockets on the surface of the board if I want to put crystals in there or herbs as for extra protection. And then as I am painting the letters, the numbers, the goodbye especially, you want to make sure you're putting in, when you're creating your own board, you want it to look like the game does that sold in stores. You want to especially have goodbye for obvious reasons. You want to close the portal when you're done. But as you are painting the letters, you really want to speak to your ancestors, your spirits, whoever you want to connect with the board, as you are painting it, with your intention of what you want to use the board for. If you want to call in protection for it as you use it, I suggest you do that as well as you are marking the board. If you're familiar with working with epoxy resin, I very highly recommend coating it over the top. I wouldn't do this if you used herbs, because obviously if you use herbs, you want to change them out and refresh them. But if you use just crystals and you painted it, putting a coat of epoxy resin over it and make sure it's level so you can wipe off the board when you're done with that water like we talked about before. If you use incense or smudging or smoke to cleanse, you can do that for the space around it, but I personally recommend using the water. And that's because water goes hand in hand, for me, with spirit work. Worst case scenario, if your board has, or if you believe it has something attached to it and you no longer want it in your house, you feel like you're having nothing but bad luck and all sorts of spiritual activity, you can dispose of it. But do not do what I see on TikTok. Do not burn your board ever. Don't ever burn your board. What you are doing is completely opening a door with that and letting whatever spirit may be attached to it go wherever the hell it wants to go. It's no longer contained. If you want to contain a spirit, I highly recommend you use something made of iron, depending on your practice. That could be whatever you wish. It could be a horseshoe, a railroad spike, a crucifix, something made of iron. It doesn't have to be anything specific as long as it's iron. And you can put it on the board. And with me, I again use water. I wrap it up in something that's black, and I have the luxury, because I live in the country, to put it somewhere where the water can rush over it and contain it. I put it in the river. And that's with the worst case scenario. It's very much okay to go and bury it somewhere with, just as I described with the iron, and wrapping it somewhere that's off of your property. Please do not bury a spirit board in a graveyard. It is illegal to dig in a graveyard or a cemetery. If you ever feel nervous during a Ouija board session, a spirit box session, or really anywhere where there's spiritual activity, like let's say you feel like you're being touched or that your space is being violated, you can take your space back by rubbing your hands together, as we do as practitioners when we're working with our candles or our herbs, or activating oils. We want to rub our hands together and we want to clap. You want to clap because what this does is it expands your energy out and it helps you take your space back. It'll throw back anything that's maybe in your space. If you pray to whatever deity or God or higher spirit that you believe in, that would be the time to also do that. You can also sing if you're a singer, even if you're not a very good one. If you're comfortable singing, that's also a great way to also raise the vibration and take your space back. You can also play upbeat music that's lively or positive. It doesn't necessarily have to be fast or whatever, but you want to make sure if there's lyrics that the lyrics are positive. If the melody's there, that it's positive. There's nothing like, that's lower vibrational. Tell them to back off, to give you space to leave. Command it of them to leave, and they will listen to you. That's the good thing about working with spirits, is that they'll listen more than the living will when you create a boundary. Of course, not all things that move the planchette are spiritual. We have what's called the idiometer effect with science, and this you can also see this with using a pendulum for divination. It's our involuntary movements in our subconscious that move things when we already know the answer to something or when we're thinking of something. A great way to rule this out is if you're first starting off and you're not familiar with energy of spirits and what's outside of yourself, to do this blindfolded. Now, if you're brave enough to do this by yourself, and I think it's okay to do it by yourself, again, if you have the proper protections, education, warding, all that stuff up, you could blindfold yourself and do as I'm doing now with the camera and have it facing down so you can see what it's answering. Of course, you want to close out and cleanse everything before you even review your footage. Or you can check it real quick, but don't forget that you have a portal open that you haven't closed when you're reviewing your footage. An even better way to do this is with a group, and you have at least 2 people blindfolded, and the third person is not blindfolded and can say the answers as they're going. Who does not have their hands on the planchette. That is also a great way to rule out the idiometer effect. Not only with the idiometer effect, because like people who are still alive, spirits can be tricky, they can be mean, they can have a sense of humor, and they don't always know the future. They might also just be telling you what you want to hear. Our ancestors and our own spirits in our court want what's best for us. But know the path can always change, and if you're not familiar with the energy of your own spirits and your ancestors through a lot of work, that it can be a trickster spirit, a rogue spirit, or any spirit coming through that might not be honest. So if they give you an answer that's concerning or that gets your hopes up, always use another form of divination as like a double check, like a spell check sort of thing. Thank you all for hearing me out on probably what's the most controversial tool for communicating with spirits. I really appreciate you listening to me, whether you agree with me or not. That is fine. To each their own. That is something I firmly believe in. But when you go to use these things, just make sure you do your research, you have confidence, and again, all your wards and protections, and always think of maybe the worst case scenario and how you might handle it. It's better to be safe than sorry. You can find me at my socials right here. I'm mainly active on Instagram and TikTok, and my handle is at Nicole Nightfall. I'm also on YouTube, where I put full versions of my Spirit Box sessions, which is a modern day Ouija board with the voices of the dead. And I also do reactions right now currently to Ghost Adventures episodes. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm also a psychic reader, a medium, a channel, and I offer readings. And for a limited time, I am offering Spirit Box sessions. I do this on and off throughout the year. If you'd like to book yours, it will probably book out very quickly. Please go to my website. I will put it here, www.nightfallnovelties.com, and the booking link is through that website. Have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, don't fear the Reaper. Take care.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy Wilson of Otherworldly Waxes, located in Beacon, New York and the scenic Hudson Valley. My website is otherworldlywaxes.com, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Otherworldly Waxes. This evening I wanted to do a little presentation about what it is I do here at my shop. I have been a magical practitioner for about 30 years. I inherited Otherworldly Waxes over a decade ago from Dr. Catherine Riggs Bergeson, and I used to work at the store too. That used to be located on East 7th Street between 1st and A in New York City. So basically what we do here at Otherworldly Waxes is we create custom candle spells such as this for our clientele. And basically our process is, well, basically my process is, because I do create all the candles myself, is a client will order a candle through the website or come in and make an appointment for candle consult, or I'll do consults with clients via email as well. And basically my clients will tell me what it is that they are looking for in their candle spell. And it could be anything from love, protection, success, health, all sorts of different transitions and aspects in individuals' lives. And when I create the candle, we decide together what it is that they desire. And I create the candle, I charge it with the intent, and I have a little ritual that I'll do with each of the candles, and I'll customize it for their specific need. So basically, these candles that I create are not generic shelf candles, even though I do have the quote-unquote generic ones, which are very, very charged, but they are not your basic store-bought candles that you could get at the grocery store. With every candle, I like to infuse it with positive manifesting energy and have the best outcome come for that individual. In this video, I will be showing you how I create in terms of carving, dressing, and glittering my candles. It is a bit of a process, but you can also learn how to do this process if you choose to take one of my online classes that should be available this January. I will be doing a candle carving class on Zoom this January, and hopefully with in person as well. But I still have yet to figure out that schedule. I am a party of one currently, so I am the staff. Anyway, without further ado, please check out how I create these candles. Okay, so I am going to start to make a success candle for a client of mine. And what I do is I carve my 7-day pull-out candle. And for those of you who do not know, I'll show you right quick. 7-day pull-out candles are the candles that come with the glass. So it means you can pull them out. I am making a success candle for my client, and I'm choosing the color orange, which represents the planet Mercury. And what I do is I carve my seal into the candle, and I will be using the seal from Dr. Catherine Riggs Ferguson's book, Candle Therapy, which is available for Kindle, or you can find it used on Amazon. It's currently out of print. So what I'm doing is lightly scratching in the seal. And I'm actually doing it, I have a consecrated metal knitting needle. I like using the metal knitting needle, only because metal seems to work the best when scratching into wax. A lot of practitioners will use nails or other, their athame or their boilin or another ritual knife. I do consecrate and cleanse mine, and it's only used for carving candles. It is not used for any other purpose. So I don't know if you can see here, I have scratched in the seal for my client. Now what I do is I choose different oils. This is a Crown of Success, an incense that corresponds with the intentions of the candle itself. This process of dressing the candle with oil may vary from practitioner to practitioner. I start from the middle and work up, as above, so below. And what we want to do is take our will, our fire body, and our emotions, our water body, and blend them into our air body to manifest on the earthly plane. So after I have thoroughly oiled my candle, now it's time for the fun part. Now sometimes, and some practitioners will, and occasionally dependent upon the particular client's intention, I will also oil the wick. Now if you get a 7-day pull-out candle, the wicks do come out and you can reinsert them. So this particular client is really looking for a lot of success. So what I want to do is just oil his wick a little bit more. And I will just run it through the oil in my hand, like so. Now sometimes it can be a little tricky. Sometimes the wicks don't want to go back in very easily. So just gently nudge it through. Sometimes you can use a wooden satay skewer and just kind of help clean out the hole, because sometimes loose wax debris will clog the hole up. Now what I do is I arrange, let's see, I'll show you all my glitter to the rainbow colors, so they're easy for me to grab and start glittering. Let's see if I can set you back up without knocking you down. Or my professional camera crew's on hiatus. I wish it was that fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start glittering, and this is the type, people always ask me the type of glitter I use. Now when I glitter a candle, glitter will automatically stick to the oil on the candle, so you don't need a specialized glitter like in terms of a glitter glue to put onto your candle. What I use is extra fine or ultra fine, and this is the holes that I like to use, if you can see it here. Now some practitioners will tape the holes or puncture one hole to get more of a defined line when they are creating. I've just been doing this for a really long time, so I don't need to get too fancy. But these are the types that I like. These are really great too. Let me open this for you. But the issue is this little piece here will have the tendency to pop out when you're glittering, and then dumps glitter all over your candle, and that can be a complete nightmare. So I like the screw-on tops the best, so they don't become loose while you're gently tapping. I'm going to put you guys on high speed because the glittering process takes a long time. So I don't want to put you to sleep. So let's start glittering. And this is a candle all ritually adorned with glitter. The next process is the blessing and the charge of the candle, which is a top secret process, but you do get a little insight with that process if you take my candle class, which should hopefully be posted by December for January's class. But I just wanted to discuss the colors that I utilized here on the candle. Again, I used orange to represent Mercury, which is the power of communication, contracts, dealings, success, business, all that good stuff. I used purple to represent Jupiter. for expansion and wealth and prosperity. Green for attraction, Venus energy, to bring in and attract what it is that you desire. Yellow for the sun, or gold for the sun, I should say, to illuminate potential prospects for success. Now, as you can see, this is the candle that we created, the success candle for one of my clients. When the client receives the candle, it will have its own specific instructions per that candle, when to light it, what moon phase, and what hour of the day. And it's all customized for that particular person, for their particular intent. So this isn't just a, factory operated thing going on here. So each candle is, made with love and care and ritually charged. And again, if you're interested in taking any of my classes, you can find my class schedule on my website, otherworldlywaxes.com, under events and classes. This year in 2022, I will be offering virtual and in-person classes again. So I'm very excited. It's, a different experience when you do it in person. You get to feel the energy and the joy and all the fun stuff and, camaraderie of really joining together and manifesting beautiful experiences. So please, again, my website, please visit it, otherworldlywaxes.com. And you can find me on Instagram at otherworldlywaxes and on Facebook at otherworldlywaxes. And as always, be blessed, be safe, be happy, and live deliciously. Take care.